today's message, the veil between the two worlds. Reverend Spivey, the pulpit is yours.
So formal. And clearly I'm not formal today. I deliberately dressed down and now she's recording me. A famous, very well-loved cardiologist died. There was a huge heart made with red roses, and in front of the heart sat the casket. Hundreds and hundreds of people were there. It was an absolutely beautiful service, and when the minister finished, the heart opened up, the casket rolled into the heart, and the heart closed, sealing the beloved physician for all time in this beautiful heart. Everybody was silent and awestruck except one fella in the back who started to snicker almost uncontrollably, and the whole crowd turned and looked at him in absolute disgust and just stared at him. Finally he said, "I'm sorry. I was just thinking of my own funeral. I'm a proctologist." Death. The veil between two worlds is a conversation about change. Perhaps considered the ultimate change for humans is body death. Now there are all kinds of deaths. There's social death, there's emotional death, but body death seems to upset us the most. We are rarely prepared. We're almost always caught off guard, even if we expect the death of the body to occur. It's ironic that this talk is occurring today in a funeral home. The veil between the two worlds is a talk about this time of year. All Souls, All Hallows Eve, Halloween. This whole season is when the veil that separates the spiritual world and the earthly world is at its thinnest. It has been believed since man could write that this time, this change, this seasonal fall, this harvest, this gathering of the grains is all about things on this earth, but things on the other side as well. And if there are loved ones or anyone that you need to reach out to or that you would like to hear from, this is the time when the veil is thinnest between the two worlds, and you have the best chance of connecting with someone who has moved forward into that spiritual realm and left their body behind. Now there's variations on this theme. There are different ideas about how it occurs and when it should occur. And Americans have, of course, commercialized it. They called it Halloween, and candy is given out, trick or treat. But there's deeper layers to the meanings. I noticed whenever you came up, almost all of you used the word prayer. It's a remarkable word, prayer. I'm not sure it works. Because I practice it, but I still don't have a Mercedes. I still don't have my health fully restored. Some of the things that I ask for, I clearly do not get. The only thing I can be sure of when I pray is that it makes me feel better. Perhaps that's the greatest therapeutic piece to prayer, is that it's personal, positive self-talk. Especially if I'm praying on behalf of somebody else, which is what I'm usually doing. Praying for someone else. For someone else to get well, or for someone else to die without too much suffering. Always about intercessory, someone else. 6 weeks ago, On a Saturday afternoon, my father called me. And he said, "Son, I need you to come down to the house. I live in Daytona. He lives in Norman." He was talking in a very unusual hushed tone for my dad. And I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "I just got a call, and your mother's brother committed suicide. She's shopping and doesn't know, and I don't know how to tell her when she gets home. I need your help." I said, "Okay." So I picked up my sisters, we went down to the house, and just as we got there, in comes my mom, happy as a clam, because what woman doesn't like to shop? And she's all happy and excited, and then she realizes everyone's there. And that wasn't normal. And we had her sit down, and we said, "Mom, we have some news that we're not sure about yet, but it's probably true." We told her. You'd have to know my mom. She's not one to sit back and take anything lightly. She is a formidable, difficult woman. "Let's get in the car, let's go right now." I said, "That's not a good idea. Let's just wait for an official call from the police to confirm it. It's not in a very good area of Holly Hill. Let's just wait. Let's just wait." Before I could even finish, she was in the car. So I, John, who's my partner, Dad, my sister, and Mom are in the car, and we drive down to Holly Hill. And sure enough, huge scene. Fire trucks, police trucks, all the neighbors taped off, and on the front porch is his slumped body. She tries to run over there. The policeman stops her. I happen to know the detective in charge because of my line of work. He said, "Mark, what are you doing here?" I said, "This is my uncle." He said, "Oh my, please don't let your mom come over. She doesn't want to see this." I said, "You don't know my mom. She's coming over." He said, "If I let you walk the scene and read the note, do you think you could use that information to calm her down and suggest that she go home?" I said, "I can give it a shot." So I walked the scene and read the note, sat her back in the car, and calmed her down enough to say, "Let's go home, let's let them do their job, we'll come back at a time when this is a little less traumatic." I don't know why, but she believed me, Charlie. We get in the car and we start heading toward the house. 5.5, 6 miles away. 1 block from the house. My dad puts his foot on the brake, takes park and puts it in neutral, and pulls over, looks at me, and dies. A massive heart attack. I said, "Dad?" He tried to speak, but it happened just that fast. My mom in the back seat screams, "Oh God, I can't lose them both. This isn't happening." My partner gets out and takes my dad and starts CPR because he's an RN. I'm on the phone with 911 calling for yet another scene. But I already knew he was gone. Because I'm in the presence of death all the time. And I know that what just happened was overwhelming for his heart. He was 79, and in 3 weeks, I was planning a surprise 80th birthday party for him. He joked and said, "I'll never make it. Because my dad died at 79, I will too." My dad has been talking to me about his death for 35 years. Every morning at 7:30, we would talk until 8 o'clock about life and death and the Bible and scriptures and philosophy and theology. So this was an ongoing thing. I was prepared for what was necessary. But I was not prepared for the suicide and the connection of the events. Now you can imagine how the rest of it unfolded. We put his body my uncles on ice at the MEs to take care of my father. I went into automatic professional mode because I'm the only one in my family responsible enough to do anything. The rest are just, they mean well, but you better turn the recorder off for that one. Don't post that on YouTube. So I become chaplain, I become clinical grief counselor, and I just make phone calls and just take charge and make things happen and expedite all of it. Because I know what to do, and I know all the professionals, so things went along very smoothly. I spoke at my father's funeral. 582 people were there. Filled up the church. They were standing in the parking lot. Huge service. Daytona Christian Church, where he had served for 50 years as an elder. All the plumbers and pipe fitters in Volusia County were there because he was a plumber and pipe fitter at the local 295 for 52 years. It was just huge. Then came time for Uncle Chris on Veterans Day because he was a Vietnam vet. And as I walked through his house, he was also a very successful hoarder and mentally ill. So as I walked, gloved, and suited up through his house, I found where he had been looking through his folder of 1968 discharge papers from the Vietnam War. And all his medals and commendations. He must have been looking through it and thinking to himself, look at the man I was, and look at where I am. Why did I tell you all this? Because it involves the veil. It involves change. It involves death and unexpected, just like that. Just like that, everything changes. Everyone in my family stood around my father and prayed. And every prayer was not answered in the way each person offered the prayer. One of you said, whatever is to be, is to be. Do you believe that things happen as they are meant to happen, or that we can affect change somehow? That's up for grabs. Many people believe that God has the power to intervene and alter the course of history. But we don't know why God does or does not. We don't really know how to influence God. So we pray and we ask. And then we leave it to chance. We see how it unfolds, and then we react. And we adapt to the situation, or we leave the situation because we cannot adapt or adjust to it. Timing, change. This is what the veil is about. It's about seizing each second because it's all you have. It's about 1 minute someone being there and accounted for, and the next minute they're not. They're just gone. So, today's message is simple. Don't waste your time. If you love someone, tell them. If you don't love someone, tell them. That was a joke. If you need to forgive someone, do it. If someone needs to hear you say, I'm sorry, say it. If you're mad at somebody, drop it. There is no time. Do not pretend, or even for one moment give yourself the luxury of thinking you have tomorrow. You don't even have today. Don't take life for granted. Don't take relationships for granted. Look at Paris. Bam! I'm no prophet of doom, but I can tell you this is just the beginning. Our world is just starting to feel the impact of years and years and years of things that have gone unhandled. This is just the beginning. It used to be that you could go to a movie theater and feel safe. You can't do that now. I'm starting to wonder if Publix shopping is really always going to be a pleasure. It won't be if somebody opens fire. Our world has become unstable and uncertain, and change happens like that. What does that mean for us? We should live in fear and never leave the house? No. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of circumstances. Notice everything. Pay attention to life as it occurs around you, especially your own. It's always the same message. Love, forgive, embrace. Exactly. When you get a child to authorize your sermon, you're doing all right. Because Jesus himself said, out of the mouth of babes, the wisdom shall come. Do not keep the children from coming unto me. Close your eyes and let's just for a moment combine our energy in our hearts and focus on everyone who's hurting and suffering. There's so many who are suffering. Just use your energy, use your heart, use your brain, and just think healing, health, well-being. Now, open your eyes. Look around the room. You have each other. You have one another. You may not like each other. But not all the time. Take the most that you can with the opportunity you have while you have it. Because you do not have any guarantees. And you don't want to have regrets. You don't want to ever have to utter the sentence, I wish I hadn't. Or, I should have. Or, I wish I hadn't. Those are sentences I hear every day. Because people waste their time. And they foolishly delude themselves into thinking they've got more. Or they wait for somebody else to realize that they were wrong and they wait for an apology. That's never coming! You know why people are kind of stupid sometimes? They really don't realize that they're in the wrong, so it never occurs to them to clean it up and fix it. So you must take the initiative and bring peace. And you must forgive as an act of self-love and self-care. Whether they're sorry or not is irrelevant. Refusing to forgive enslaves you. Let it go. Let it go. Thank you for letting me come talk to you looking like this. I'm usually in a suit and a tie, and I just said, I am rebellious today. I'm not doing it. Let them fire me. I don't care. God bless all of you.